What's up, guys? Luke here from Spotlight on Spurs, and I'm delighted to announce the 5th episode of my Spurs preview. This time we have Nige from Pure Quiz. How are we doing? Thank you very much for coming on, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm really good. Nothing happened in the window, but other than that, I'm good. Hope you're well, mate.
I'm not too bad. I'm not too bad. Obviously, I've been doing these for a couple of weeks, or about a week or so now. And the first couple that came on, very Morgan Gibbs White, was very much at the prime part of the conversation. Seems to have died off recently. I'm not sure why, but I'm sure we'll get into it at some stage. Yeah, guys. If you already know about this, but obviously every single person who comes on for my Spurs preview, their YouTube will be in the description of the title of this video, and then also obviously their link will also be in the description box below. So please go over and follow, and sub to Pure Quiz. Closing on 1K, pushing that's the target, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the target. Hoping to get there before the start of the season. So I got like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
85.
Come on, guys, come on. Let's go over there and show some love. As I said previously, guys, that we're all Tottenham fans. We all want Tottenham to do well. So when guys are going online and putting their face to a camera, it's a lot harder than it looks for some people. Trust me. So if we can get nice to 1K, that would be absolutely amazing. Great. No, let's get it all started. Let's have a little chat. Let's start off just on last season. What are your thoughts on it? So you can go into as much detail or as little as you like.
You know what? Last season, it was a weird one, wasn't it? Because I started my YouTube the start of last season. So really excited. We finished 5th the season before. Thought, this could be the season. Andrew's coming out. He's saying good things. He wants a challenge for the league. And let's be honest, it was horrific as the season goes. It was as bad as it gets. Nearly every stream was a negative stream from me. I look back at my videos now and I'm constantly moaning. And that's not me really. I am a positive person inside somewhere. But yeah, it was an awful season. But obviously it ended fantastic with the Europa League win. So it was one of them. It was an awful season, but with a pot of gold at the end. So yeah, weird one for me.
No, I completely agree, and virtually everyone that's come on has basically said that all they remember from last season was the trophy. They don't care about anything else. Let's just forget about it. Forget about it. Delete it from the memory, and onwards and upwards. Hopefully, let's see. So obviously, Ange was sacked and told to get out the door because season 3 is not going to be better than season 2. And we brought in Thomas Frank. So what are your thoughts on Thomas Frank? You can, as I say, you can go from previously before he was appointed, what your thoughts were on to now. It's just in terms of Frank's appointment as a whole. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, in all honesty, when we were being linked with him when Ange was still in a job, I wasn't overly keen. He wasn't my first choice. I wanted Poch back. I was banging the drum for Terzic. He was my main man. And I like Glasner as well. So they were my 3 that I wanted more. Frank was certainly down the list. But it's one of them, isn't it? It's like the transfer window. The more it goes on, the more any name that comes up, you're like, oh yeah, it'd be good. And I kind of felt a little bit that way towards Frank by the end. It's like, actually, he's done a really good job. And the more videos I watched of him and the more I listened to him, the more I thought, actually, he might be a really good fit for Tottenham. So yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do. I am also a little concerned that he may have been brought in because we're not going to spend a lot of money and he's there to improve the youth. But we will see. I think, listen, you know how I felt about the last manager. I think anything's an improvement tactically. So we will see what Frank does.
Nah, I completely echo what you were saying. And to be honest, I think that seems to be the kind of consensus that from most guests that have come on, that when the initial name was brought up, that certainly wasn't first choice. However, it's the same as you said, like transfer windows and things. You hear about a player that we're linked with, you then start looking at that player a bit more, you start analysing them a bit more, you look at videos of them, etc. And then you start going, oh, maybe actually they've got some qualities that will improve us and will help us. And I think it's the same with Frank. Once you start looking into him, you notice there's a lot of stuff he can bring to Spurs for sure. So yeah, it does seem to be that's sort of the consensus amongst the fan base. So at least we're consistent on that one, I suppose.
Exactly.
So in terms of Frank, obviously, what positives and what do you think Frank will bring to Spurs? And as I've said to all guests on this is not just about from a tactical point of view. This could be from a personable point of view. It could be that you think he's going to be able to bring the youth through more, or whatever you think he's going to bring to Tottenham Hotspur. What do you think Frank will be bringing to Spurs?
I certainly think he is going to be a lot easier on the ears when it comes to listening to what he has to say, pre-match, after match. Obviously, I've always liked how calm he is and how calm he seems. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does that way. Obviously, there's a difference between managing Brentford and managing Tottenham when there's no pressure on you. The only pressure you have is really to stay in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people will say whatever they want about Spurs. We finished 17th. We're not a big club. Tottenham are a massive club. And there is no doubt Frank has never had pressure like he will have at Tottenham. He's going to have a lot of scrutiny on him. So it's going to be interesting to see how he deals with that. But he comes across as a really just calm, and it's going to be, I'm really looking forward to seeing what he brings. I think, again, tactically, I think he will improve us. He will bring the youth through. And I just can't wait to see a defence that actually defends. And already in a few friendlies that we've seen, just nice to see some of the patterns of play. And yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do. But definitely in the media, I think he's going to be a lot better than Ange was. I thought Ange kind of lost his head a little bit a few times, and I don't think Frank could do that.
Yeah, specifically towards the end, he definitely said some things that he probably regretted. I still stick by that some of the questions that he got and some of the questions that continued week after week after week were a bit crazy, a bit silly, really. But you don't want your manager reacting like that, especially not with the arguments with fans and things like that. So, and yeah, you're right. In the friendlies, he's definitely. I think one thing every fan knew that we was probably going to be better defensively, and obviously he seems to have a better shape there. Although it will be interesting because it's got quite limited options, especially like in the fullback area. We seem to need to get cover in, and Ben Davies being the only one on the tour. So saying that, coming on to the next question, what are your sort of concerns with Spurs currently? Where do you think at the issues lie? And again, this doesn't have to be transfer related. It doesn't have to be Frank. It could be, you could go again on the old Levy and the board. It's entirely up to you. But what concerns do you have with Spurs currently?
This is one of the questions I thought was really interesting, because if I'd come on maybe a week ago, I think maybe my answer would have been totally different. But my concerns now with Spurs are everywhere, if I'm honest, from the board, from thinking that Levy had maybe moved aside, now thinking he probably hasn't. Also hearing that Donna Cullen was also on the tour as well, and I thought she had been moved aside. Obviously, she's still there in some capacity. The transfers, which are not happening. We've been waiting. We've wasted nearly 3 weeks on Morgan Gibbs-White. We now have nobody in. When was the Morgan Gibbs-White thing announced that he was staying at Forest? Saturday. We're now nearly midway through the next week, and we've done nothing. You would think we would have options in place ready to go. The injuries, Solanke already injured. Takai, Udogi. We don't seem to have a lot of luck with injuries. The squad looks thin. Everything so far is a concern. So I feel a little bit for Thomas Frank. I think he's going to be feeling the pressure straight away. I'm already seeing fans after a couple of draws saying we should never have got rid of the last manager is crazy. And if we lose our opening game to Burnley, wow, it's going to be interesting. But yeah, a lot of things concerning me, but there is still plenty of time to put them right. So no need to panic just yet.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was actually saying this recently that I really feel that that was always going to be how it would go down at Spurs in the first, say, month or so, because you had people so their feelings and thoughts around Ange were so different that if Ange would have stayed, if we would have drawn these two games, then he would have had so much criticism. And then you obviously had the people that wanted Ange to stay, and that obviously that didn't happen. So therefore, Frank's going to get unfairly criticised. But it's friendlies. I mean, you can win every single friendly that you participate in, but if you lose league games, then it ain't making a blind bit of difference. So, but I do feel like we're like that as a fan base. We are certainly very reactionary. Obviously, we have spoken about what's needed to be done in the transfer window, but we're going to just start with the who should Spurs be getting out of the door now. And again, a lot of the names that are coming up are very similar. The one that kind of mainly splits the fan base, I think, a bit is Sonny, but all of the other names have already been said, and everyone seems to kind of be in an agreement with that. But who do you think Spurs should be looking to move on this summer?
Again, probably all their names have been already said, but Richarlison for sure.
Mhm.
I actually don't think he's a terrible striker. I just think he's always injured, never fit. So it seems pointless keeping him. Sonny, I think, should go. I think it's time. Um, Basuma or Bentancur, one of the two. Either or. I'm not bothered which one. They would be my main three from the first team. Obviously, the likes of Solomon and Hill need to go. Whether they will, I don't. I'm confused by Hill. Someone that we've signed for what 25 million plus Lamella at the time.
Yeah.
Hardly played for Spurs. We can only ever seem to get him out on loan. So even Spanish teams don't really fancy him. Crazy for me. I'd just be looking to rip up his contract now and let him go. But yeah, I think that's probably around it. Maybe a centre back may go on loan. It depends if Romero stays.
Yeah.
I'm not sure either Takai or Vuskovic, but apart from that, I think that would be my main three.
Mm.
Sonny,
We
Richarlison, and either Basuma or Bentancur.
we needed to shift out some wingers for sure because of the amount that we have in the squad. Moore looks like he's probably going to go out on loan now. Solomon,
Yeah.
if Solomon goes and Hill goes as well, then that's three of the options gone out the door. You talk about Richie and Son potentially. You could argue that all of them are possibly playing on the left wing, possibly a left wing option. So you're getting rid of five
Yeah.
options there.
Yeah.
And then obviously that would leave the likes of Tell, Odebear, that sort of thing. So, but it just shows you just how much change is required in the squad, doesn't it? Like we've got. Have you seen the squad that went on tour? Just so
Yeah.
many gaping holes in the squad or the
Yeah.
players. There's such a drop off, and then obviously you've got youngsters that are coming through, Donnelly's, etc., who may or may not go out on loan. Just in regards to Vuskovic, and this is just a thought I haven't asked the other guest. In regards to Vuskovic, is that one player you'd keep around, or would you look to loan him?
This is a difficult one because I do think he looks decent. I
Mhm.
like the look of him,
Yeah.
but I'm thinking maybe just a season on loan at a top championship club would do him the world of good.
Mhm.
You know, it's okay doing it in Belgium. Was he in Belgium? I think he was in Belgium
Yeah.
before. But
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
even even the championship is it's kind of about that level, I'd say. So even a loan to a top championship side where he's going to get regular first team football, I just feel if he stays at Spurs, which again I've not got an issue with, he's going to be probably fifth choice.
Yeah, he's got to play if he
So he's
stays.
not he's not going to get much game time.
Yeah, completely agree. I think I already know the answer to this question. Are you happy with the business so far? I think this is exactly what you said earlier. If you had come on a couple of weeks ago,
Yeah,
maybe your
yeah.
answer would have been different. But right now, as we currently stand, are you happy with the business Spurs have done?
No, it's been one of the worst windows I've known for. Well, actually, the worst summer window since last summer. I think the last couple of summer windows have been truly atrocious, but we have got time to improve it. It's just the same old story, isn't it? It would be nice to get the players in early to, adapt to, especially with a new manager, get used to new manager system, get used to each other. But we are going to be flying by the seat of our pants a little bit to start the season with. I've got no doubt we get players in, whether they're the right players. I'm not sure. My concern is the longer we go, the more we're going to panic and we will end up with players that probably aren't good enough. And in a season or 18 months, they'd be deadwood as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's that whether we're going to target the right signings and the players that are going to improve. And as you say, the Morgan Gibbs White thing is just, it's such a dagger to the heart. And just in terms of you then get, I've said it previously, but you're getting two players that are top players at their current teams, that we're strengthening ourselves and then also weakening other teams in the league, which is how big teams have dominated leagues previously. I'm not saying we're going to dominate leagues, but if you're buying the best players off the teams that are below you, you're probably doing yourself a favour, but also affecting them. So I completely agree with that. And obviously, again, this question, a lot of people brought Morgan Gibbs White into the situation. However, obviously that's not going to happen. But who would you? And this doesn't necessarily have to be players. This could be just positions that you want strengthening. But I would like to know if you've got a number one target that you would be going after.
And a difficult question because it changes by the day. I'd love a number 6 in, a top class number 6, but would that be a Wharton? Would that be a Polinia? I like Jasari as well. I think he's a really good player. So one of those three, I'd be happy with any of them. But my mind is suddenly, with a doggy's injury, thinking we really need a left back. So go out and get an Anthony Robinson if it costs us 40, 50 million. And that's direct competition. And I don't want to see Spurs bring in players that are backups.
Yeah.
We need to bring in players that are as good as each other. So there's no drop off if another player's out. And it pushes the other player to get better. So a left back, I think, is vital now. I'd love to see another striker because even though I think Solanke's okay, I think he'd do a job. Again, I'd like to see another striker come in and push him. So someone like a Vlahovic, I know that a lot of people don't rate him. It's all personal opinion, isn't it? I actually think he'd be quite suited to the Premier League. I know we were linked heavily with Mitrovic as well. Again, 30 years old, I know, but scores goals. So, I wouldn't be against him coming in for a couple of years. I think he's a different option to Solanke. They would be my three main positions: a 6, a striker, and a left back. Obviously, if we had extra funds or a chance to sign another player, I'd love to see someone else on the left, a Jack Grealish kind of player. But I just don't think we'd do it. I don't think we tend to go for players that are 28, 29, 30. So I think it will be a younger player. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he went for a Tyler Diblin.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the rumours initially were very much that Diblin was almost our number one target for a long period of time, and that seems to have gone very, very quiet recently. I don't know whether that's because the Kudos deal. I think Tyler Diblin's primarily a right winger that comes inside on his left foot. Obviously, that's what I keep being told off. I keep saying Kudus, but it's Kudus. So that's what Kudus does. But on that left-hand side, if we do get rid of Sonny, we do get rid of Richie, it kind of leaves, as I said earlier, it leaves Tell and Odobert, who you could argue Odobert could play on the right. Tell can obviously play through the middle as well. So is that going to be the position that we kind of go and strengthen if both Richie and Son leave? But yeah, again, a lot of people are very much agree with where you have gone with that in terms of a left-sided player coming in. So whether that be a left centre back who plays left back or a left back that can play left centre back, the 6 it seems to be a target for everyone. Really, that seems to always be the main one. But as you said, the doggy's injury may slightly change that. and then some options again in the forward line. But I think a lot of that depends on who we can kind of shift out the door, because we've got a hell of a lot of players. So let's see where we land on that one. So your number, who would be the one player that you think that we need to get, or one position? Is Anthony Robinson the one?
Yeah, it's really boring though, isn't it? Because when you sign like a defender, you sign a left back. It's like, oh, we signed a left back.
Would you say he's a marauding fullback?
Yeah, well, he does set up a lot of goals. So yeah, let's go left back.
Right, okay. As I say, obviously the thing with these is that things are constantly changing. So the Morgan Gibbs-White situation, Udogie's injury, although I think he's come out on social media and said that the links were that it was really bad and he was potentially going to be out for 3-4 months. He's come out and almost dismissed that. I'm hoping that that's not a parody account and I've just been done over, but we will find out. We will find out. Moving on to the next question now. So there's 3 more coming up. These 2 are kind of quick fire, but as I said, some people have gone into long reasoning as to why. But one player that you're one to watch for this season now. Obviously, again, Kudus is a new signing, so some people have said he's one that I think people are going to be not expecting a load from, but actually he's going to deliver a lot. I think Bergvall has been mentioned and etc. So who's the one player that you think we should be keeping an eye on?
It's a really difficult one because nobody really excites me. I would say for me, I'm really looking forward to seeing Maddison in the number 10. I think without the midfield being crowded, without inverted fullbacks, he's going to have a lot more space. Hopefully, he won't be dropping deeper and picking the ball up off the centre halves. Hopefully, he'll stay in that number 10 area. And I think if we can get the ball to Maddison and he can start dictating games, I think we will win a lot more than we lose. And yeah, so for me, without a doubt, it is Maddison.
Yeah, I think that's a fair shout, and I think with this, a lot of people are looking at it has to be sort of a youth player, but it's anyone really that's one to watch. I don't think there's anyone that really stood out last year in terms of, if someone's had a standout season, you can't then say I think he's the one to watch next year, sort of thing. But everybody was underwhelming for large periods, I guess. So yeah, I completely agree. I think it's interesting to know whether Morgan Gibbs-White was going to become that 10 or whether he was going to play slightly deeper. I think he was probably going to play deeper, but I think it's quite a big year for Maddison. I think that there's some of the fan base that think that he's technically probably one of our best players, and then I think there's a lot that think that when he's on, but when he's off, he's so far off. But actually, I think there's a lot of our players like that. I think if you go through all of our players when they're at their absolute maximum, they're all top players. However, how often are they there? How often are they at their very best? That's where I think a lot's left to be desired. So yeah, I think Maddison is a player that hopefully will be one to watch for next year. Second from last question now, a hot take for 25-26 season. So again, just to give you some examples of what's previously followed, we've had a top 4. We've had a couple of top 4s, actually. A couple of top 4s. One said top 6. I don't know whether you can consider that a hot take, but it's everyone, each to their own. It's their own opinion. So most of them have gone down league positions. But again, this could be, you think Solanke's going to get 20 goals or whatever. What would be your one single hot take? So when we look back at the end of the year, we can go, he's absolutely mudded.
You've absolutely hit the nail on the head. I've said on quite a few streams already that I think Solanke will get 20 plus league goals, and I've just got to go. I just got to dive in now head first. And again, this leads on to Maddison. If Maddison plays the way I hope he does, I think Solanke's going to get a lot of chances. I think Frank likes the ball crossed into the box, and as long as Solanke's not doing the work he was last year and more in and around the penalty area, I think he will hit 20 goals a season. Listen, is he the best striker in the league? No. Is he the best striker at Tottenham? Probably just about. But, would I like to see him replaced with a better striker? Yes, but I don't think he will be. I think he's going to be our number 1 striker. And I think he hits 20 league goals. If he doesn't, if he only hits 10, like he did last season or whatever, then he needs to be sold the season after. For me,
Yeah,
this is a massive season for Solanke. Just like Maddison, I agree with you with Maddison. He needs to really improve and really perform this season. I think Solanke's the same. If he has another poor season, then I'd be looking to sell him.
yeah, I completely agree. It's going to be interesting to know how Frank deviates around the FA Cup, the league, the Champions League, and how much Solanke actually plays. Whether he plays, but if he plays a lot of Premier League games and he starts say like 30, 32, 34 games, then yeah, I completely agree. If he's not hitting like 14, 15 Premier League goals, then serious questions need to be answered. And as you said, I don't think he's an absolute standout striker. I'm not saying he's one of the best in the league, but for the positions that we should be fighting for next year, for the amount of chances we should be creating, and then when you have players like Kudus, when you have Madison, Kulusevski around you would imagine we're going to create some sort of chances. So I completely agree. And 20 league goals, I think might be pushing it, but I can see where you're coming from. If we perform like we can do, then I don't see why you can't get near that. Was his best? Was it Bournemouth? Was it not 19? I think he
I
got
think he
at
got
Bournemouth.
19,
So,
yeah.
like
So
that's a respectable tally at Bournemouth, isn't it? So yeah, maybe will he have his best goal scorer in season? Let's see. Nige says yes.
as long as he gets 20, it doesn't need to be 21, just 20.
That's it. That's it. And then the final question before we wrap up is there's several different parts to this, but it's what are your expectations around the season, and the way that we've broke this down is essentially we've gone through the different competitions. So obviously the Super Cup coming up, a lot of people are forgetting that that's part of this season, sort of thing. So where are your thoughts on what you expect from that? And again, you can go down score lines. You can just say competitive, which seems to be a bit of a running theme. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on that.
Well, the Super Cup to start with is going to be interesting. Obviously, I was hoping we were going to have a lot stronger squad. It looks like we're not going to. There is still time, of course. But currently, I think we probably lose the Super Cup. You're probably not surprised to hear that. As for league-wise, it's a difficult one. With the squad we have now, I'd expect anything between ninth and upwards. You know, if we could finish in a European place, whether that's Europa League or the conference, that would be a good season, I think, for Spurs currently, after finishing 17th season before.
Mhm.
So I'd be looking at hopefully 7th, but it wouldn't surprise me as well if we finish 8th, 9th, 10th.
Well, okay, not as optimistic as the other guest. Maybe that's part of the Morgan Gibbs White and the trajectory of the club and the summer transfer window. But let's see. And then obviously we've also got the kind of FA Cup and Carling Cup or Carabao Cup. I've said, and I could be completely wrong about this. I've said that I think maybe the Carabao Cup is almost a free hit for Frank this year. I think the fact that we've just won a title, won a cup, might mean that the fans are a little bit more lenient if we was to play, for instance, a youth team in that top competition. And obviously, it feels like every single time we've gone out any competition for the last God knows how long, it's always been really on the manager because we're so desperate to just win something. But as I said, because we've just won something, I feel like if we was to play a load of youths in some of these games, I think it will probably be accepted among the fan base, especially if we're doing well in other competitions. And obviously, again, a lot of this is about who you play. You could draw Man City in the first game, and then that looks different to if you got non-league throughout the round, sort of thing. So, what would the expectations be around the cups? Do you have any expectation in the Carabao or FA Cup?
Carabao's a weird one because am I right in thinking that we go straight into the third round? So we miss the second round? Because
You
last season we were
definitely,
the
yeah, if
second
you
round.
play in Europe, you miss an additional round. So is it the third or fourth? But yeah, you're right. I think
Yeah,
Premier League clubs go in at a certain level, but if you're in Europe, you go the next round. So
yeah. So again, like you say, it wouldn't surprise me at all if we played a weakened side in the Carabao Cup. Obviously, it depends who we draw. if we draw a Scunthorpe and we play a weekend side and go out, it's still going to be disappointing.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think it is a bit of a free hit. The FA Cup, we're lucky that obviously we don't start till January. So listen, I'd love to win the FA Cup. The FA Cup for me is the one trophy I'd really like us to go for this season. We're not winning the Champions League. I'd be amazed if we got out of the league stage. But there's a chance, a lot of people just assume Champions League is all that, there's top sides, but there aren't. There's a lot of poor sides in it as well, a couple of sides. I think Bodo Glimt are in it, aren't they, next year?
I'm
There's a
pretty
couple
sure
of sides that,
there's like three or four of the teams we played in the Europa League in that run from like group stage right the way through. I'm pretty sure there's like 3 or 4 of them that are all in the Champions League this year.
yeah, I mean, I don't expect us to get through. I think if we got through the league stage, that would be great. I actually don't think Levy is taking the Champions League too seriously. I think it was just a bit of an added bonus. He's getting the money for it. So, and it certainly seems the way we're acting in the transfer market that Tottenham aren't really going to push themselves too hard to really compete in the Champions League. And that's kind of fine. I'm kind of at the point where I really enjoyed our Europa League win. And if we finish in Europa League place this year, that'd be great because I'd want us to go and win the Europa League again the following year.
Yeah.
I think the Champions League maybe it's just a bit too much for us currently where we are. So yeah, Champions League, no. League Cup, no. FA Cup is the one I'd really like us to go for.
Yeah, I feel that again. A lot of the fan base would not the expectation being the FA Cup, but going. Do you know what? If we could, like, as you said, being realistic, the league's not there. The Champions League isn't there. But if we go out and done a solid league run and won an FA Cup, that would be a pretty remarkable season, especially as you said, finishing 17th last year. So completely agree. Everyone's basically saying just become a little bit more competitive everywhere this year, which I think again we can all agree. But are we going to sign the players? As I say, it looked like we was. Are we now going to go and make the replacement for Morgan Gibbs White and strengthen in a few areas that we need? So that is all of the questions that we ask. Thank you very much for coming on. As I said, please like this video, subscribe to myself and also Nige over at Pure Coys. And the last thing from us is come on, you Spurs. See you later, guys. Thank you very much.